Welcome back, DK Shop. Today I'm going to make a little block plane out of a piece of oak 15N20 silicone bronze rod and a couple nuts and a bolt. Stay tuned. So I'm a big fan of these little block planes. This one is just a Buck Bros block plane. You can buy it at Home Depot for, I believe, under $20. But they are fantastic for breaking corners, for trimming end grain, and flattening small sections of wood. Sometimes I'll use this for getting rid of wood glue lines that I've let harden. This does a good job at that too. But today I'm going to make one. So I'm going to need this little section. I don't know what you call it, but it's got a knob and a little groove that locks into this bar and pushes the blade against the bed. So I'll need that. I'll need the bed or body, I'm not really sure what you call it. I'll need to make one of these, and I will of course need to make a little blade. So although I'm gonna keep the body and most of the mass is gonna be oak, I want the bottom of the bed body to be steel, just so it stays flatter for longer. And I mean, steel obviously has a lot more wear resistance than wood. So the very bottom, I'm gonna attach this 15N20 to the bottom of the oak. So since this steel is pretty much the width I'm going for with the body of the plane, I can just take this steel before I cut it, set it right next to my saw blade, bring my fence right to this piece of steel, and now I have the width I need for my oak right off the hop. Next thing I'm going to do is drill the hole for the pin before I hollow out the oak. This will help keep things in alignment and prevent possibly breaking off part of the oak after I hollowed out. Alright, so I have the oak hollowed out. I did that on my table saw. Will fit the blade and the little piece with the knob. So I only need part of this, but part of the benefit of doing that is now, when I cut this to length, what's left in here will already be the proper width to make this little piece out of. So I made it longer as a safety thing on the table saw, really. More to hold on to when you're cutting out a rabbit like that. we're gonna harden this little planer blade. Since it's 15N20, I'm gonna heat it up to 1480 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm only gonna hold that for a couple minutes. Then I'm gonna quench it in fast oil. And then I'll temper it. If it hardened anyway, but I'm sure it will. Before I epoxy the steel bottom to the bottom of the plane, I'm gonna scuff it up real good with some 80 grit sandpaper. Then I'm gonna scuff up the bottom of the oak body with sandpaper before I epoxy it. Just gives it a bit more to grab onto. Something like that. This is zirconia sandpaper, by the way. It's awesome if you can find it. So most of the parts for the little planer are at least in progress. So the blade is hardened and tempered. I do need to clean it up and sharpen it and flatten the back. The main body is at least glued together. And now what I'm gonna work on is the little adjustment knob, the thing that holds the blade to the body. So my idea is, rather than trying to thread stuff and all that, I'm just going to encapsulate this 1/4-inch bolt between two pieces of oak. And then I can shape the oak to look like a little knob, and that way it matches the rest of the planer. So there's a hole for the bolt head to sit in, and a hole for the threads to go through. Once that dries, I can shape the little knob. So the hole for the bolt head is a 1/2 inch. It can spin a little bit, but I'm thinking that the wood glue I squirted in there, it doesn't bond to metal, but at least fill up the space in between, preventing the threads from spinning. But we'll see. All right, here we are several hours later, heck, a couple days later, in fact, ready to assemble the hand plane. So this was such a file-heavy build for me that it doesn't make sense to make a video montage of all the filing. I mean, it was just hours and hours of filing. So this is how the knob came out. Tried to just make it not a round chunk of oak. The blade came out nicely. The blade was actually the easiest part of this project for me. So I flattened it on my granite surface plate with some sandpaper. I sharpened it on my bench stone, and then I polished that edge with some sandpaper on my granite surface plate. It's nice and sharp. This is the body of the planer. I partially peened the bronze rod in. I wasn't comfortable hitting this too hard because this oak did get a little thinner than I originally planned. So I didn't want to snap it in half. The oak came out okay. Oak is was probably the wrong choice for this project in the way that I built it. Really hard to keep it clean. And of course the sole. I just flattened it a little on the granite surface plate as well. I had to drill out the slot and file it as square as I possibly could. That was another time-consuming part of this project. But the most difficult part of this project for me was this little part of the adjustment. It tucks in here and applies pressure to the blade to keep it in place. That took me a couple tries and a few different versions to get one that worked how I wanted it to. But anywho, let's put this thing together and try it out. So first, I gotta tuck this in here and hold it kind of at an angle. Slide the blade in behind, like so. Then add the knob. And from this point on, this is how the planer will stay. The only reason I would remove the blade is to resharpen it. Here's the blade sitting here. Bevel up because it's technically a block plane. It's just sticking out, so let's give it a try. Alrighty, so let's give this little block plane a try. I have some Eastern cedar here. It's not freshly cut, so it has aged some. When you freshly cut Eastern red cedar, it has kind of a pink purple color to it, and it's kind of aged down to this brown. So first thing I figured we could try is, my favorite thing to use this size plane for is break this corner. It's working rather nicely, as you can see. Nice and clean. I'm pretty happy with that. I am pretty happy with that. That's pretty awesome. Pretty good quality shaving too, really. It's a little thick. One thing I will definitely work on, probably not in this video anyway, is adding a little bit more control over the adjustment. It is a bit difficult to adjust, I'm not going to lie. But unfortunately, the commercial one I bought by Buck Bros, you have similar issues trying to control how far in or out the blade is. That's just kind of comes with the territory with these. And now we'll see how it does planing away this little ridge here on the cedar. That is left over from the table saw blade, actually. So it's probably maybe a 32nd of an inch thick, you know. Blades tend to leave these if you wiggle the wood even just a little bit while ripping things. So see if I can smooth that out with the plane. Well, it made short work of that little lip. That is for sure. I mean, it's still cutting a little heavy. This isn't super thick, but I would like to figure out a way to get a finer adjustment out of it for sure. Because my blade is running at 60 Rockwell, so I can actually get a sharper blade than many of these commercially available blades, like this Buck Bro blade. It's probably only like 58 Rockwell. Mine's 60, so in theory, it can hold a finer edge. But the adjustment definitely needs some adjusting. That is not too bad. I am happy with that. Alrighty, so I think that does it for this video. Thanks for coming along on my little experiment. I really enjoyed making this little plane, and I'm like 95% happy with how it came out. Breaks corners wonderfully. I need to work on the height adjustment on the blade a little bit, but the blade cuts well. The plane feels good in the hand. I'm very happy with it. So I hope you all learned something with me, as I learned too. And until next time, I'll see ya. I've got a couple videos I'm working on already. I'm building a TV stand / cabinet in one video with an Eastern Red Cedar butcher block top. So look out for that one. And I'm also taking some firewood and turning them into butcher block corner shelves. So also look out for that one when they are released in the next couple weeks. And until next time, I'll see ya.